poor kids stay poor.
It's not true.
Out of 1,800 billionaires in the world, 12 of them are black. Where you come from, where you grow up, how much your parents earn, whether your parents were married plays a major role in determining where you
is there a question mark at the end?
Fact number 3, I would just like to remind you that hate speech is not free speech.
Yes, it is.
And my question is, since facts don't care about your feelings, why did you use false facts?
Okay, so none of the facts that I used are false. First of all, yes. No, okay, first of all, would you like the answer? Okay, so the 3 facts you mentioned, you talked about transgenderism. First of all, until 5 minutes ago, the DSM specifically defined transgenderism as a disorder. It defined it as gender identity disorder, now calls it gender dysmorphia, which doesn't even make sense. It says that depression is the actual problem, not the actual gender disorder, which again does not explain why the transgender suicide rate is upward of 40%, and the actual suicide rate for the rest of the American population is lower than 3%. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, you talked about income inequality, and you suggested that all wealth is inherited. This is nonsense. According to the IRS statistics, if you are born into the bottom 20% of wage earners in the United States, you will not be one of the bottom 20% of wage earners in the United States. 90% of people will not be within 15 years. There's tremendous wage mobility in the United States of America. Plus, there is not a group of people who just sit at the very top and stay there. People move up and down, in and out of the 1%. 1% just defines the line of income. It doesn't define the people who are in that 1% of income. I've been in the 1%, I've been out of the 1%. It will happen to lots of people. People who are older tend to be more likely to be in the 1%.
Just before we came on air, I spoke to Milo Yiannopoulos. He's a senior editor at Breitbart News, and there's even been speculation that he too could find his way into the Trump White House. I began by asking him what exactly alt-right means.
Well, it's a very young, vibrant, exciting new movement of conservatives in America. They are populists, they're nationalists, which is not a dirty word in America. They care about immigration, they care about trade, and they really hate political correctness.
And you would describe yourself as one of the sort of cheerleaders?
No, the media is desperate to crown me the queen of it. All I've ever done as a reporter is give them a fair hearing, give them a fair crack of the whip in the press. For that crime, I have been called all sorts of awful names.
But they're too extreme even for you, then?
No, I wouldn't say that. We're fellow travelers on some issues, but, you know, I'm very pro-Iraq, I'm very pro-Israel. There are all sorts of, you know, points of difference, I think.
Do you think your erstwhile boss, Steve Bannon, chairman of Breitbart and now Trump's chief strategist, do you think he has horribly regressive attitudes? He's been described by some liberals an anti-Semite, a white nationalist. Have they got that wrong?
Well, Breitbart is a company staffed almost entirely by Jews. I am a gay Jew, and he made me into a star. He, you know, flew over from America to hire Raheem Kassam to run the London office, who is a, you know, brown-skinned Muslim. This stuff is ridiculous. What a lot of Brits don't always understand is how ugly and terrifying American politics can be. The name-calling can be absolutely extraordinary, and lots of Brits...
And name-calling by Breitbart, I mean, that is ugly. Look at these headlines. Well, no, would you rather your child had feminism or cancer?
Well, that's not Steve,
There's no hiring bias against women in tech. They just suck at interviews. That's extreme. That's ugly.
No, it's not extreme. They're my headlines. They're not Steve's. And
how are they not extreme?
Would you rather your child had feminism or cancer? Well, women agree with me. I mean, 7% of British women describe themselves as feminists. Just 7. It's only journalists who are still feminists.
Feminism is actually about...
Feminism is about equality, of course. You know, they say one thing...
You don't believe that. You're redefining it.
Well, no, they say one thing and they behave very differently. Feminists like to say, when they're on the defensive, oh, don't you believe in equal rights? But the way they actually behave is nasty, vindictive,
and mean. Do you believe in equality for women? Do you believe in equality for women?
Any normal person does. I want women to...
So you're actually a feminist, then?
Well, I would describe myself as a second-wave feminist, but the modern version of feminism, this ugly, sociopathic, vindictive, mean, spiteful third-wave feminism, which you know, which is defined by misandry. Okay. Women agree with me, not with you.
Donald Trump has talked about governing for all Americans, and yet Breitbart, the chief strategist now, has these extreme, divisive headlines. Do you understand why people are fearful about the divisions that are being caused?
No, I don't agree at all. Actually, what we do is we do something quite rare in journalism these days. We publish satire, we publish provocation, we publish all kinds of journalism that traditionally would have been left-wing. You know, the sorts of dissident, mischievous, you know, thought-provoking kind of stuff where you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. And then you read it and you think, oh, actually, well, that's changed my mind.
Right,
isn't it bizarre? Don't you find,
no, I want to put some of that satire to you. I want to put some of your own satire to you. Wait a minute. I know you want women to log off the internet, but we are now in the Channel 4 News studio. You have to allow me to speak. You said that women offended online should log off. You said, yes, we'll certainly let women onto the men's internet a few times a year, as long as you follow a few basic rules.
You can't
You said, wait, let me finish. You said, mass Muslim immigration must stop, or people will know real rape culture. Are we supposed to just soak that up and take it as one big joke?
Am I wrong about that? Am I wrong about that?
Answer me.
Am I wrong
Are we
about
supposed
that?
to just soak it up and take it as one big joke?
You're supposed to treat it as it's intended and not wrench it from context. You know perfectly well that it is a provocation designed to make people think and perhaps to make them laugh.
The guy who's behind all this provocation, the guy who hired you and turned you into a star, as you put it, is now chief strategist in the White House. What does it mean that someone who delighted in offending people, who delighted in having a laugh at Muslims and women, is now at the centre of power? I delight in offending people. I think the grievance brigade, victimhood, you know, the idea that hurt feelings are some kind of special currency, I think that needs to come to an end, and America agrees. What does that say about you? What does that say about the guy who's now the chief strategist? Should Steve Bannon care that people are offended? No, because America has been ruled for 30 years by people who are too worried about what other people feel, not what other people think, and too worried about feelings versus facts. For decades, America has been run by the grievance brigade, by social justice warriors, hand-wringers, feminists, Black Lives Matter, all these groups that are preoccupied with feelings first and facts later. They spread conspiracy theories and propaganda about the wage gap, campus rape culture. This stuff isn't real. What does it say about you, though? What does it say about Steve Bannon, who's now chief strategist, that you don't care about offending disabled people, ethnic minorities, women? You don't care about that. I don't care about offense taking. About that. I care about facts. I don't care about your feelings. I thought you believed in a post-fact universe. So who? That's one of your quotes. Is it? We live in a post-fact era. It's wonderful, you said. Yes, what I meant from that was just telling the facts are no longer enough. You now have to be persuasive and charismatic and interesting and funny. Just telling people things isn't enough anymore.
He's the first president in like 145 years to not have a dog companion. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that people that don't like dogs are bad people, but I'm just saying it's like caring towards animals is a good trait to have in a human. You know,
he's got a lot on his plate. Having a dog, and that's a lot. I mean,
we're trying to fight against him. That's the kind of animal abuse that he thinks should be private information because those individuals deserve their privacy.
Who did you vote for?
I didn't vote.
Meanwhile.
Oh shit! What is that?
The lady in red is dancing with me.
Rip it! Yeah! Yeah, there's a big man! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! I'm not a man! I'm not a man! Fuck you!
I'm a fucking woman.
Oh
I'm
yeah!
not a man. I'm a fucking woman. Fucking respect that. I'm a fucking woman.
Somebody come and look at this. Look at this.
Don't call me a man. I'm not at this school. I won't go to jail for a fucking.
Hey man, relax,
What is it about this protest that is troubling for you guys?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Well, this guy, he has nothing to say because all he does is push people around. But I'm just wondering what you guys are here for. What are you counter-protesting? No? Don't speak English? I guess not.
I laugh at English.
Okay. And you can't tell me what you're here protesting?
Not interested.
Why not? Well, don't you? You're here. You're representing a cause, obviously. Can't you tell me what cause you're representing?
Well, he's just showed up.
So who can I talk to? Who's willing to tell me what you guys are all about? Or is everyone just on mute? No one knows how to speak here. Huh? That's the problem. It's getting hot, so you guys are gonna melt. So back to Snowflake Land. Let's go. Back to Snowflake Land.
You're hurting his feelings.
Back to Snowflake Land. It's getting hot. You guys are gonna melt.
Can you please just like shut the fuck up?
Why?
Because you're being offensive.
Who am I being offensive to?
You're being offensive.
How am I being offensive?
You're repeating yourself.
You're being offensive. I ask you questions that you don't want to answer.
Let's go.
Just move along.
You have nothing to protest.
I'm blocking you.
Yeah, see you later. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Who am I being offensive to? I asked you some questions. You couldn't
Dude,
answer
you
them.
just kept
Then you got
repeating
pissed
yourself.
off. You got pissed off
Yeah,
because you
because
had no
it-
argument. No, because you had no argument.
Don't cut me off and think that you're smart about it.
I'm not trying to cut you
You're
off.
such
I'm
an
asking.
asshole, dude. You were just going off about how this is like, you know, snowflakes. I don't need your policing. Leave me alone, please, AJ. Don't associate me with the group. Just take the hat. Take the forms.
Okay. So, first of all, excuse me, who are you telling to go home?
Who am I saying should go home? I think anyone connected with the fascistic and undemocratic Trump regime, and because Trump has chosen not to separate his state job from his business enterprise.
Can you give me a definition of fascism?
I beg your pardon?
Can you give me a definition of fascism?